Learn how to add the Azure Cloud Shell to Visual Studio Code in this edition of Azure Tips and Tricks. To add the Azure Cloud Shell to Visual Studio Code, first, we'll need to make sure that we have an extension installed. Inside of the extension section, I'm going to type in Azure account. Now, I have to make sure that this Azure account extension is installed. Notice I already have it installed, but if you don't, go ahead and hit that install button. Now that your extension is installed, I should be able to open the command palette, and I should be able to type open in Cloud Shell. Notice that this gives me two options. I can open in Bash, or I could even open in PowerShell. I'm going to select the open in Bash option. Notice it pops up the terminal window at the bottom, and now it's going to say not signed in, sign in first. I'm going to click the sign in button, and now it's going to ask me to copy the authentication code, and it's going to pop open in a browser for me to use to authenticate my device. I'm going to hit continue. I'm going to select my account. It says you have signed into Visual Studio Code application on your device. You may now close this window. So I'm going to close this. Now I'm going to give my terminal a second to finish authenticating and connect to the Cloud Shell. And there we go. Now I'm connected to an Azure Cloud Shell instance inside of Visual Studio Code. So I could type things like AZ, for instance, and I have access to the Azure CLI right here in my Visual Studio Code editor.